In this video, we explore a series of real, chilling stories that prove Halloween is not only a time for costumes and candy but also a night when unsettling and even dangerous events can unfold. From the eerie mysteries of haunted buildings to tragic accidents and disturbing crimes, these accounts highlight how the line between thrills and genuine horror can blur on Halloween night. Each story is presented with respect for the victims and those affected. We aim to shed light on the darker side of Halloween, offering a thoughtful and educational perspective on incidents that serve as a reminder of the importance of caution and awareness. Some content may be intense, so please watch with care. Remember, while Halloween should be enjoyed, it's always wise to prioritize safety for yourself and your loved ones. If you or someone you know is experiencing distress, please don't hesitate to seek help from a professional. Thank you for watching and joining us as we recount these unsettling events tied to Halloween night. On Halloween night in 2008, 10-year-old Kevin was out trick-or-treating in a small town in Indiana. His neighborhood was buzzing with families, kids in costumes, and festive decorations on every porch. Like most children, Kevin was excited about the night's haul of candy. As he made his way down the street, he came upon a large, dimly lit house on the corner. Despite its uninviting appearance, the house had a single porch light on, signaling that they were giving out candy. At the door stood a man who many in the neighborhood recognized, a middle-aged, reclusive resident who rarely interacted with anyone. Known for his unusual and withdrawn behavior, he often kept to himself. Most parents knew of him and, although they were wary, never really had a reason to worry. Kevin approached the man, who smiled in an odd, unsettling way as he dropped candy into the boy's bag. As Kevin turned to leave, he couldn't shake the feeling that the man was watching him a bit too closely, his gaze lingering on each child that walked up. Kevin's unease grew, especially as the man seemed to look not at the costumes or candy bags but directly at the children with an intensity that felt wrong. When Kevin reunited with his parents, he shared his concerns about the man. His parents, disturbed by their son's account, decided to report the incident to the local police. That night, officers visited the man's home, where they uncovered a disturbing reality. The man had a criminal history and was on parole for offenses that involved endangerment to minors. Part of his parole conditions was that he should not have direct contact with children, especially not on Halloween. Following the investigation, authorities took him back into custody, averting a potential danger that could have harmed more children. Kevin's quick thinking and willingness to speak up likely spared his community from a tragedy, and the town celebrated him as a quiet hero. This incident was a chilling reminder to parents about the importance of staying vigilant, even in familiar neighborhoods, and that sometimes the safest-looking streets hold the darkest secrets. In 1975, a small, close-knit town in California was buzzing with Halloween excitement. Friends and neighbors had gathered for a festive Halloween party at a modest home on the edge of town. The house, tucked away near the rolling hills and dry brush common to the region, was decorated with cobwebs, jack-o'-lanterns, and flickering candles, setting the perfect eerie scene. As the night went on, a group of young friends decided to take the celebration up a notch. Someone had brought a box of firecrackers and small fireworks, thinking it would be a thrill to light them up in the backyard under the cover of the starry Halloween sky. The group, buoyed by laughter and the thrill of the night, gathered outside to watch. One of the partygoers, a young woman named Lisa, was especially excited. She loved Halloween, and the spectacle of fireworks seemed like the perfect way to make the night unforgettable. She urged her friends on as they lit one firecracker after another, watching them explode with bursts of color in the night air. But then, something went horribly wrong. A large firework misfired, launching unexpectedly into a dry patch of grass near the edge of the property. Within seconds, the dry brush ignited, and the flames began to spread rapidly across the field, whipped into a frenzy by the breeze. The party quickly descended into chaos as guests frantically tried to douse the flames, but the fire had already grown out of control. As everyone rushed to safety, Lisa, who had been standing closest to the firework, was caught in the flames. Others tried to reach her, but the heat and smoke were overwhelming. By the time firefighters arrived, the blaze had engulfed a large area, and it took hours to finally bring it under control. The fire claimed Lisa's life and left several others injured, with burns and smoke inhalation. In the days that followed, the town was left in a state of mourning. Lisa's friends and family were devastated by the tragedy, and the once festive house became a somber reminder of that terrible Halloween night. This incident became a cautionary tale for the community, reminding everyone of the deadly consequences that can arise from reckless behavior. For years afterward, people in the town avoided the site where the party had taken place, the charred landscape a haunting reminder of lives changed forever on what was meant to be a night of fun. In 2009, a group of college friends from Massachusetts decided to celebrate Halloween by visiting a well-known haunted house attraction rumored to be truly haunted. It was located on the outskirts of town, in an old building with peeling paint and creaky floors, surrounded by legends of unexplained events and eerie ghost sightings. Sarah, the most adventurous of the group, was excited but also skeptical. She loved a good scare but didn't believe in ghosts or spirits, often laughing at the stories. The attraction was designed to unsettle its visitors with dim lighting, creepy sounds, and realistic, gruesome decor. As they moved from room to room, the friends laughed and jumped at the staged scares. But things started to feel genuinely strange in one particular hallway. The lights flickered erratically, and at one point, Sarah's friend Dan froze, claiming he felt something cold brush against his neck. He looked pale and visibly shaken, but Sarah waved it off, joking that he was just scaring himself. They continued, but the group's unease grew. They entered a dimly lit room filled with mannequins dressed in tattered costumes, posed in eerie stances. Sarah led the way, laughing at how lifelike the figures looked, until, suddenly, one of the mannequins moved. The figure seemed to lean forward, its head turning slightly, and then lunged toward them. The entire group screamed, sprinting out of the room and down the hallway, hearts pounding. Once outside, Sarah insisted on going back. She was convinced the mannequin had simply been a staff member playing a trick, and she wanted to prove to her friends that there was nothing to be afraid of. Despite their protests, she headed back inside alone. The moment she re-entered, an unsettling stillness filled the air. She reached the mannequin room, where she felt an inexplicable wave of dread wash over her. The silence was deafening, and suddenly, she heard soft, chilling whispers surrounding her, saying, "Leave, you don't belong here." A shiver ran down her spine. The whispers grew louder, filling her with an intense fear that she couldn't shake. She bolted out, running past her friends waiting by the entrance, her face pale and her hands shaking. Later that night, they couldn't stop talking about what had happened. Curious about the haunted house's history, they decided to look up the attraction online and learn something that left them stunned. Years before, a devastating fire had swept through the area, claiming the lives of several workers on the very land where the attraction now stood. Some say the spirits of those who died in the fire haunted the grounds, forever trying to warn visitors away. The friends never returned to that haunted house, and even years later, Sarah refuses to speak about what happened in that room. The terrifying whispers and the overwhelming sense of dread were enough to convince her that perhaps there was more truth to those ghost stories than she'd originally believed. The haunted house remains a popular attraction, but for Sarah and her friends, it's a place they'll never revisit. In a quiet Texas town in 2000, Halloween festivities took a terrifying turn when several young children began experiencing intense stomach pains after eating candy from their trick-or-treat haul. The night started off innocently, with families excitedly roaming neighborhoods decorated with pumpkins, skeletons, and cobwebs. Costumed children filled the streets, eagerly going door to door and collecting bags of candy. Later that evening, however, a few parents noticed their children complaining of stomach aches, feeling dizzy, and in some cases, struggling to stay awake. The symptoms seemed to hit all at once, spreading through multiple families across the town. Concerned, parents rushed their kids to the hospital, fearing the worst. Doctors treated the children for signs of poisoning, while the police quickly launched an investigation to uncover the source. To everyone's horror, it was soon confirmed that some of the Halloween candy had indeed been laced with poison. Authorities could not immediately pinpoint where the tampered treats had come from, which led to a town-wide alert. Halloween candy from multiple neighborhoods was promptly confiscated for testing, and law enforcement issued warnings, urging parents to check every piece of candy before letting their children eat it. Panic spread through the community, and many parents dumped out their children's candy or drove miles to have it professionally examined. Although no one suffered long-term harm and the affected children recovered after treatment, the incident cast a dark shadow over the town's Halloween festivities for years. Many parents began attending organized, trunk-or-treat, events or hosted candy-free Halloween gatherings to keep their kids safe. The culprit behind the poison-laced candy was never found, adding an extra layer of mystery and fear to the incident. To this day, local residents remember the Halloween of 2000 as a chilling reminder of the potential dangers lurking behind seemingly innocent holiday traditions. The incident forever changed how families in the town approached Halloween, making safety checks an essential part of the tradition. On Halloween night in 1991, a festive costume party in a small Virginia town took a dark turn when one guest decided to entertain everyone with an impromptu firework display. Set up in a large backyard surrounded by trees and dry autumn leaves, the party had been lively and full of laughter as people mingled in creative costumes, music playing and drinks flowing. As the night wore on, one of the partygoers brought out a stash of fireworks, thinking it would add excitement to the Halloween celebration. Guests watched as he set up the fireworks in a small open area of the yard, but the party took a disastrous turn when one of the fireworks misfired, launching directly into the crowd. The sudden explosion sent guests scattering, some tripping over each other in panic. The firework ricocheted off a tree before hitting a young woman standing nearby, causing fatal injuries. With dry leaves and brush littering the ground, the fireworks sparked a small fire that quickly spread, adding further chaos to the scene. Other partygoers attempted to help, but in the confusion, several sustained serious burns or injuries from the stampede as people rushed to escape the area. By the time emergency responders arrived, one guest had tragically lost their life, and several others were taken to the hospital with critical injuries. The tragic incident rocked the community, serving as a grim reminder of the potential dangers associated with using fireworks in casual or unregulated settings. Local authorities launched an investigation and later issued a safety advisory about the hazards of fireworks, especially during celebrations in residential areas. The incident prompted widespread discussions on safety, leading many to reconsider or avoid using pyrotechnics at Halloween parties and similar gatherings. Following the accident, residents began advocating for stricter regulations on private firework use, and local stores even reduced the sale of fireworks around Halloween in response to the tragedy. For years afterward, Halloween celebrations in the area took on a more somber tone, as the memory of that night lingered in the community, reminding everyone of the unforeseen consequences of a seemingly harmless act of celebration. In 2012, in a quiet California town, Amy, a friendly neighborhood resident, decided to embrace the Halloween spirit by handing out candy to trick-or-treaters. Her home was decorated with cheerful jack-o'-lanterns, cobwebs, and spooky lights, welcoming children from all around. As dusk settled and children began going door to door, Amy opened her door to greet the first wave of trick-or-treaters. Amid the usual Halloween bustle, Amy noticed something unsettling: a man standing near her neighbor's house, staring directly at her door. His presence was oddly still and persistent, and though he wasn't dressed in a costume, he blended in as if he was just another Halloween bystander. Amy tried to brush it off as part of the evening's eerie ambience, but the man's unbroken stare made her feel increasingly uneasy. After giving candy to a few more children, she peeked outside again. The man was still there, watching her intently. Nervous, she quickly shut her door, locked it, and turned off her porch lights earlier than usual. The next morning, Amy shared the strange encounter with her neighbors, only to learn that many had also seen the man lingering around their homes that night. Concerned, they collectively reported the incident to local authorities. To their shock, it turned out that this individual was already on the police's radar as a suspect in several burglaries in the area. Law enforcement increased patrols, and within days, the man was apprehended. In his possession were several items linking him to recent break-ins in the neighborhood, confirming residents' fears that he had been scoping out homes for future burglaries. Amy's quick thinking and her decision to alert her neighbors had helped stop a criminal who had been planning to take advantage of Halloween's chaotic atmosphere to go unnoticed. The incident became a cautionary tale in the community, underscoring the importance of remaining vigilant, even on nights meant for celebration. The experience led residents to form a neighborhood watch group to monitor activity during future holidays, keeping a closer eye on each other's safety. In the years following, the community kept the tradition of handing out candy on Halloween but with an added layer of caution. The memory of that unnerving Halloween night served as a reminder of the importance of trusting one's instincts, staying observant, and protecting one another, especially during times when everyone's guard might otherwise be down. In 2018, a group of college friends decided to celebrate Halloween in a mysterious, old campus building that had a reputation for being haunted. This building had long been closed to the public, with rumors swirling among students about eerie sightings and unexplained events. Drawn by the thrill of the unknown, they decided it would be the perfect place to host their Halloween party, complete with costumes, spooky decorations, and ghost stories. As the night wore on, a few adventurous students dared each other to explore the basement, a section of the building that was rarely, if ever, visited. The basement was filled with dust-covered furniture, broken picture frames, and stacks of old books and personal belongings left by previous occupants. Among the items, they found vintage photographs, letters, and antique trinkets that seemed to tell stories of the people who once lived or worked there. The atmosphere was thick with the scent of old paper and a cold, damp chill that made the basement feel even more foreboding. As they continued exploring, one student noticed an antique mirror leaning against the wall, half covered in grime. Feeling a chill but curious, he wiped off the dust and took a look. To his shock, he saw the figure of a woman dressed in white standing behind him. Her face was pale, with dark, hollow eyes that seemed to stare straight into his soul. Paralyzed with fear, he screamed, alerting the others. The entire group turned to see what had frightened him, but by then, the mirror only reflected their terrified faces. Panic quickly spread among the students, and they scrambled up the stairs, leaving behind the eerie remnants of the basement. Back at the main floor, they locked the basement door and tried to shake off the experience, but the memory of the woman's haunting stare lingered. As the night went on, strange occurrences continued to plague the party: flickering lights, unexplained cold drafts, and faint whispers that no one could trace. Eventually, everyone decided to leave the building, their Halloween thrill thoroughly replaced by dread. Later, the students shared their experience with others on campus, and the story quickly spread. They learned that several tragedies had occurred in the building in the early 1900s, including the mysterious death of a young woman who was rumored to haunt the halls, waiting for someone to free her from her restless state. The mirror, it seemed, was an unusual portal, allowing the ghostly figure to make herself known. The story of that Halloween night soon became part of the college's urban legend, with students retelling the tale each year and daring each other to visit the infamous basement. Although most students avoided the building entirely, the bravest among them occasionally ventured to see if they, too, could catch a glimpse of the woman in white staring back at them from the depths of the haunted basement mirror.